Most people don't know this, but the average American household owns at least 3 nonstick pans that start releasing toxic fumes at just 500 degrees Fahrenheit. That's barely hot enough to sear a steak. These fumes can kill pet birds in under 5 minutes and may be slowly poisoning your family with every meal. Before you flip another pancake or scramble another egg on that convenient surface, you might want to finish this video, because once you learn what manufacturing workers have been hiding about that slick coating, your entire kitchen routine might need a serious detox. Let's dive into the dark underbelly of your kitchen cabinets, where those innocent-looking non-stick pans are harboring a toxic secret. You see, that miracle coating that promised to make your cooking life a breeze. It's not just non-stick, it's a ticking time bomb of chemicals. And the temperature at which these pans start spewing their invisible poison? A mere 500 degrees Fahrenheit. That's right, folks. While you're thinking you're just whipping up a quick stir-fry, you might as well be playing chemical roulette with your family's health. But wait, it gets worse. Those fumes we're talking about, they're not just unpleasant, they're downright deadly. Picture this. Your beloved pet bird, chirping away in its cage, suddenly drops dead within 5 minutes of you heating up that pan. Sounds like something out of a horror movie, doesn't it? Well, it's happening in kitchens across America, and that's just the canary in the coal mine. Pun fully intended. Now, let's talk about the elephant in the room, Teflon. This wonder coating was supposed to revolutionize our cooking, making stuck-on food a thing of the past. But as it turns out, non-stick is a far cry from non-toxic. The dirty little secret behind this slick surface is a chemical called PFOA, and boy, does it have a rap sheet. Former employees of DuPont, the company behind Teflon, have come forward with some pretty damning information. They were explicitly told to keep their mouths shut about PFOA, even though the company's own studies from way back in the 1960s had already linked it to a laundry list of health horrors. We're talking tumors, birth defects, and liver damage. You know, just your average side effects from cooking breakfast. But surely, when this information came to light, there were consequences, right? Well, sort of. In 2005, the EPA finally stepped in and slapped DuPont with a fine of $16.5 million for hiding decades of health data. Sounds like a big number, doesn't it? Here's the kicker. That fine represented a measly 2% of DuPont's annual Teflon profits. That's not even a slap on the wrist. It's more like a gentle pat with a feather duster. And if you think that's bad, wait until you hear what was happening inside the factories where this stuff was made. One worker described coughing up blood after prolonged exposure to these chemicals. But don't worry, folks, management had a cute little name for it: polymer fume fever. Because apparently, if you give something a fancy scientific name, it magically becomes less dangerous, right? Let's put this in perspective for a moment. We're not talking about some obscure chemical used in industrial processes far removed from our daily lives. We're talking about pans that are sitting in your kitchen right now. Pans that you use to cook food for your family. Pans that are releasing these toxic fumes every time you crank up the heat to get that perfect sear on your steak. And here's the real kicker. This isn't some fringe conspiracy theory. This is documented, proven fact. The companies behind these products knew about the dangers for decades and chose to keep quiet. They prioritized profits over people, gambling with the health of millions of unsuspecting consumers. So, the next time you reach for that non-stick pan, thinking about how easy it'll be to clean up afterward, ask yourself, is the convenience really worth the risk? Is saving a few minutes of scrubbing worth potentially exposing your loved ones to these hidden dangers? It's time to wake up and smell the toxic coffee, folks. The very tools we rely on for nourishment might be slowly poisoning us. And while the corporations behind these products might be content to sweep the dangers under the rug, it's up to us to educate ourselves and make informed choices about what we bring into our homes. So, before you flip another pancake or scramble another egg on that convenient surface, take a moment to consider the true cost of that non-stick convenience. Because once you know what's really lurking in your kitchen, you might find that your entire cooking routine needs a serious detox. After all, when it comes to the health of you and your family, isn't it better to be safe than sorry? The choice is yours, but now, at least, it's an informed one. Ready for a mind-blowing revelation about the cookware in your kitchen? Let's talk about the brilliant marketing makeover that turned Teflon into PTFE. Sounds so much more scientific and trustworthy, doesn't it? Well, here's the kicker. It's literally the exact same compound, just wearing a fancy lab coat. Manufacturers love to tout how perfectly safe this stuff is, as long as you don't overheat it. But let's get real for a second. How many of us are actually checking surface temperatures while frying up our morning bacon? I'll wait while you count. Yeah, that's what I thought. Now, here's what they conveniently forget to mention in those glossy ads. At 536 degrees Fahrenheit, PTFE starts to break down. And by the time you hit 662 degrees Fahrenheit, you've got a chemical cocktail party happening right in your kitchen. We're talking at least 6 different toxic gases being released, including a nasty little number called perfluoroisobutene. Fun fact, this compound has been studied as a potential chemical warfare agent. Safe? I think not. Clean? Not even close. But wait, there's more. Let us dive into what really makes non-stick cookware so special. The forever chemicals that stick around in your body long after you've finished doing the dishes. Enter PFAS, the chemical family that includes our old friend PFOA. These bad boys don't break down. Ever. They're like that house guest who overstays their welcome. Except instead of crashing on your couch, they're setting up camp in your blood, liver, and kidneys. For decades. Think I'm exaggerating? Well, studies show that a whopping 97% of Americans now have detectable levels of PFAS in their blood. That's right, almost all of us are walking around with these chemicals inside us. And it's not just a harmless party trick. These compounds have been linked to a whole host of health issues, including thyroid disorders, immune dysfunction, kidney cancer, and testicular cancer. Still feeling good about that nonstick pan? Here's a little insider info for you. Manufacturing workers reported that during safety training, they were told never to smoke near the production lines. Why? Because the combination could create hydrogen fluoride, a chemical so potent it can dissolve glass. But hey, don't worry. Your scrambled eggs will slide right off that pan. Now, you might be thinking, surely they wouldn't sell this stuff if it was really that dangerous, right? Well, my friend, welcome to the wonderful world of corporate marketing. It's amazing what a little rebranding can do. Slap a scientific-sounding name on something, throw in some reassuring claims about safety, and voila. Suddenly, everyone's clamoring to get their hands on the latest kitchen must-have. But here's the thing. When it comes to your health, ignorance isn't bliss. It's downright dangerous. Those perfectly safe pans sitting in your cupboard right now, they're ticking time bombs of toxic chemicals, just waiting for you to crank up the heat a little too high. And let's be honest, who among us hasn't accidentally left a pan on the stove a bit too long? Or cranked up the heat to get dinner on the table faster? We're not professional chefs with perfectly calibrated stovetops. We're regular people trying to get food on the table between work, kids, and a million other responsibilities. So, the next time you're tempted by that shiny new set of non-stick cookware, remember this. Sometimes, what sticks to your food is the least of your worries. It's what's sticking around in your body that should really keep you up at night. In the end, it all comes down to this. Is the convenience of a non-stick surface really worth the potential health risks? Is saving a few minutes of scrubbing worth exposing yourself and your family to chemicals that have been linked to cancer and other serious health issues? Maybe it's time we all took a closer look at what's really cooking in our kitchens. Because when it comes to our health, what we don't know can absolutely hurt us. So, here's to making informed choices, asking tough questions, and maybe, just maybe, embracing the art of cooking with a little extra elbow grease. After all, a little stick might just be better than a lifetime of forever chemicals sticking around where they don't belong. This isn't hyperbole, it's documented fact. Overheating non-stick pans causes Teflon toxicosis in birds, killing them within minutes through acute lung damage. Pet owners have shared gut-wrenching videos of their healthy feathered friends suddenly collapsing while someone innocently cooked breakfast in the next room. These aren't isolated incidents. They're a chilling pattern that exposes the dark underbelly of the cookware industry. The corporate double standard is staggering. Former employees reveal that DuPont facilities enforce strict no-bird zones around production areas. They knew full well the lethal effects of their products on avian respiratory systems. Yet somehow, mysteriously, not a single warning label ever made its way onto consumer products. The cognitive dissonance is mind-boggling. If it's too dangerous for birds to even be near the manufacturing process, what twisted logic allows it into millions of homes? Let's connect the dots here. If these fumes can instantly kill a bird, what exactly do you think decades of low-level exposure is doing to your lungs, your liver, your entire body. The industry doesn't want you asking those questions. They'd rather you focus on their shiny new PFOA-free labels, hoping you'll think the problem is solved. But make no mistake, this is nothing more than a classic corporate shell game. Ex-employees, speaking out at great personal risk, admit that PFOA was simply swapped for other untested fluorochemicals like Gen-X and PFBS. These are compounds the EPA itself warns may cause tumors, yet they remain perfectly legal in cookware. It's a regulatory loophole big enough to drive a truck through, and manufacturers are exploiting it for all it's worth. Internal memos from major cookware companies, obtained through whistleblowers and legal discovery, paint a damning picture. These documents show that manufacturers were fully aware that these PFOA replacements carried similar risks. But they made a cold, calculated decision. They figured the regulatory approval process would take decades. That's plenty of time to maximize profits before any potential bans or restrictions kick in. The cynicism is breathtaking. These companies are gambling with public health, betting that they can milk these dangerous compounds for years before being forced to change. And in the meantime, they're slapping eco-friendly labels on everything, hoping consumers won't look too closely. The only thing green about these new formulations is the shameless greenwashing plastered all over the packaging. Let's be crystal clear. This isn't about one bad actor or a few isolated incidents. This is systemic deception on a massive scale. The entire nonstick cookware industry is built on a foundation of half-truths, obfuscation, and willful ignorance of potential health risks. They've created a web of misinformation so tangled that the average consumer has little hope of unraveling it. Think about the implications here. If these companies are willing to knowingly expose us to potentially carcinogenic compounds just to save a few dollars on production costs, what other corners are they cutting? What other risks are they hiding behind slick marketing campaigns and lobbying efforts? The bird deaths are just the canary in the coal mine, pun fully intended. They're a stark, visceral warning of the invisible dangers lurking in our own kitchens. But unlike those poor birds, we can't simply drop dead and make the danger impossible to ignore. Instead, we're subjected to years, decades even, of slow, cumulative exposure. What's truly infuriating is how easily this could have been prevented. A simple warning label, "Do not overheat. Fumes may be harmful to birds and potentially humans," could have saved countless avian lives and alerted consumers to the need for caution. But that would have cut into profits, wouldn't it? Can't have that. The solution isn't simple, but it starts with awareness. We need to demand better from these companies and from our regulatory bodies. We need independent, long-term studies on the effects of these new fluorochemicals. We need real transparency about what's in our cookware and what risks it might pose. Until then, every time you reach for that nonstick pan, remember the birds. Remember the corporate executives who decided your health was an acceptable risk. Remember that sometimes, the most dangerous toxins are the ones we invite into our homes with open arms, seduced by promises of convenience and easy cleanup. The true cost of nonstick might be far higher than we ever imagined. Ever wonder what really goes on behind those slick marketing campaigns for your favorite cookware? Well, buckle up, because I've got some insider info that'll make your head spin. Quality control workers have been spilling the beans, and it's not pretty. They're reporting that pans are routinely shipped out with tiny cracks in the nonstick coating. You heard that right. Microscopic fissures that let chemicals seep straight into your food from day one, not just when the coating starts to visibly wear down. But wait, it gets worse. One manufacturing employee came clean about what happens during those high-demand periods when everyone is scrambling for new pots and pans. Entire batches of cookware are rushed through production with the chemical coating not even properly cured. That means the nonstick surface isn't bonded to the metal like it should be. So much for that revolutionary coating they're always bragging about, huh? Now, let's talk about how they test these pans. Another worker spilled the tea on their durability trials. They crank up the heat to extreme temperatures and start frying eggs. Sounds innocent enough, right? Wrong. The fumes from this process are so toxic, so downright dangerous, that they had to install special ventilation systems just to keep the testers from keeling over. But hey, your kitchen's got good airflow, doesn't it? No need to worry about those pesky toxic fumes while you're whipping up breakfast, right? It's not just about cutting corners on the production line, folks. We're talking about systematic safety violations that these quality control workers are blowing the whistle on. They're seeing firsthand how these companies are putting profits over people, rushing out products that haven't been properly tested or finished. And all the while, they're slapping on those shiny labels and feel-good guarantees. Here's the kicker. That chemical leaching we talked about earlier? It's not some far-off problem that might happen years down the road. It's happening from the moment you unwrap that brand new pan and start cooking. Those micro cracks are like little highways for chemicals to cruise right into your morning omelet. But you won't see that mentioned in the glossy brochure, will you? And let's not forget about the folks actually making these pans. While marketing teams are busy crafting images of happy families cooking together, manufacturing employees are being exposed to dangerous conditions day in and day out. They're breathing in those same toxic fumes, handling improperly cured chemicals. Also, you can have your safe and durable cookware. It's a classic case of do as I say, not as I do. These companies are quick to tout their commitment to safety and quality, but when it comes to the nitty-gritty of production, it's a whole different story. They're cutting every corner they can find, and it's the consumers and their own workers who are paying the price. So the next time you see one of those sleek commercials with the perfect kitchen and the flawless cooking experience, remember what's really going on behind the scenes. Remember the workers risking their health, the rushed production lines, and those invisible cracks just waiting to leach chemicals into your food. It's enough to make you think twice about that nonstick pan, isn't it? Maybe it's time we all took a closer look at what we're bringing into our kitchens. Because let's face it, when it comes to the cookware industry, what you see in those glossy ads is about as far from reality as you can get. The truth is a lot less appetizing and a whole lot more dangerous than they'd ever want you to know. Are you tired of worrying about what's really lurking in your kitchen? Let's face it, the convenience of nonstick cookware comes at a steep price. The evidence is in, and it's time to face the music. Traditional nonstick pans are a ticking time bomb for your health. You can't keep ignoring the risks, not when safer options are staring you right in the face. If your pan needs a chemical shield just to fry an egg, maybe it's time to rethink what you're bringing to the table. Here's the wake-up call you've been waiting for. It's time to ditch those toxic nonstick pans for good. Your health is on the line, and every meal cooked in those chemical-coated disasters is another roll of the dice. But don't panic. We've got your back with a game plan to revolutionize your cooking arsenal. First up, let's talk cast iron. This isn't just your grandmother's pan. It's a powerhouse of natural nonstick goodness. When seasoned properly, cast iron develops a surface smoother than a politician's promises. And here's the kicker. It actually boosts your iron intake with every meal. Talk about a win-win for your taste buds and your body. Not sold on cast iron? No problem. Enter ceramic-coated pans, the unsung heroes of the kitchen. These beauties are the real deal when it comes to non-toxic cooking. They clean up faster than a toddler can make a mess, and they distribute heat like a dream. Say goodbye to hot spots and hello to perfectly cooked meals every single time. For those of you who want to cook like the pros, carbon steel is your new best friend. This is what you'll find in high-end restaurant kitchens, and for good reason. With a little TLC, carbon steel develops a non-stick surface that rivals any chemical coating. It's like the fine wine of cookware. It only gets better with age. Now let's talk technique. You don't need to crank up the heat to get great results. In fact, lower temperatures are your secret weapon against toxic emissions. And whatever you do, never preheat an empty pan. That's like inviting a toxic cloud to dinner. No thanks. Here's a rule of thumb. If you can't pronounce the coating, it has no business in your kitchen. And if it's known to harm birds, imagine what it's doing to you and your loved ones. Your family deserves better than cookware that's slowly chipping away at their health. True convenience should never come at the cost of your well-being. Don't let the non-stick industry pull the wool over your eyes again. They may talk about improved formulations and safer alternatives, but at the end of the day, they're more concerned with their bottom line than your health. It's time to take a stand and demand better. Your kitchen should be a place of nourishment, not a chemical laboratory. Every meal you prepare should be a step towards better health, not a compromise. It's not just about what you cook, but how you cook it. The right cookware isn't just a tool. It's an investment in your family's future. So what's it going to be? Are you ready to make the switch to healthier cooking? Your body will thank you, and your taste buds won't even know the difference. In fact, you might find your meals tasting better than ever without that chemical aftertaste. Remember, Knowledge is power, but only if you act on it. Share this information with everyone you know who spends time in the kitchen. They deserve to know what's really sizzling on their stovetop. Together, we can create a movement towards safer, healthier cooking practices. Don't let another meal pass by in those toxic pans. Make the change today. Your future self will thank you for taking this stand. Because at the end of the day, the truth about cookware might not always be as clear as we'd like, but that doesn't mean we should stop pushing for transparency. Hit that like button, subscribe to stay informed, and spread the word. Let's make toxic cookware a thing of the past. Because when it comes to your health, there's no room for compromise. The journey to healthier cooking starts with a single pan. Make sure it's the right one. Your kitchen, your rules, your health. It's time to take control and cook up a storm safely.